Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and mahalo to all of our witnesses. Aloha for being here today. Earlier today, the full committee heard from the Air Force Secretary and the Chief of Staff and their intent to transition to a 4+1 fighter fleet, which includes NGAD, F-35, F-15EX, F-15 or its F-16 or its successor, plus the A-10. It's my understanding that the Air Force plans on divesting 21 A-10s from Fort Wayne's Air National Guard Base, Indiana, and replace this capability with 21 post-block F-16s from a location still to be determined. First question for Assistant Secretary Hunter: has the Air Force identified the location of these F-16s, where they'll be coming from, and when are these 21 A-10s expected to be divested?
Sir, I'm going to defer to General Nahom on the shift in the basing of the aircraft. That's more in his lane.
Sir, and it's planned on being first of all, it's planned on being an FY23 move, so that's actually the beginning of the fight-up. And we think it's actually a good news story. The Indiana Guard at Fort Wayne, they're excited about the move. They're ready to go. The specifically aircraft tails, let me just take that for the record to make sure I get you the correct answer on that. But those are post-block F-16s that will be coming into the Indiana Guard.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to Hawaii then. General Nahom, you know Hawaii is a unique and strategically important location, and its F-22 Raptors not only provide homeland defense for the Hawaiian Islands, but also the ability to project fifth-generation combat air power throughout the Indo-Pacific. There have been discussions about new Air Force aircraft for Hawaii, including NGAD, EX, and F-35s, and in addition, what and where those combat Air Force structures would look like throughout Indo-PACOM. So my questions are, my question is, are there any plans, General Nahom, to divest any combat aircraft in Hawaii and replace them with a different platform that the committee is not aware of?
Sir, right now, as you look in the near future with Hawaii, with the F-22s, we see F-22s there for a while. And actually, frankly, we see F-22s in the Air Force for a while, probably the next decade or so, as we continue to develop the next generation air dominance systems. What follows on in Hawaii has yet to be determined for the F-22. And I think that that's actually okay. There's obviously commitment to Hawaii. We're always going to have fighter aircraft on the islands for all the right reasons. Its location in the Indo-Pacific, the defense of the Hawaiian Islands. What follows the F-22 will be a question, because as we develop the next generation air dominance family of systems, and again, without getting into specifics, where those are postured is still an open question as well. And so right now we're much more worried about the posture inside of the fight-up and just outside the fight-up. Let's say in the next 10 years, with the weapon systems that are going to expire between now and then, your A-10s, your pre-block F-16s, your F-15Cs, and some of those older systems. That's more the concern right now. Right now with Hawaii, with the F-22, we know that's going to be flying for a number of years, and we will replace it. We just don't know with what yet.
So you think, is it fair to say that the F-22 would remain in Hawaii, at least for the next decade?
Sir, without getting into the details of the dates, because of the nature of the next generation air dominance system, I'd like to take that for the record for a classified conversation.
Okay, thank you. Question for Mr. Ludwigson. It feels like every year, and you've heard the chair and many other members talk about the F-35 program, but every year the GAO office reports the same thing: more schedule delays, cost overruns. For example, out of 150 F-135 engine deliveries, only 22 were delivered on time. In 2020, 159 engines were delivered, but only 44 of them were delivered on time. Last year alone, out of 152 engines delivered, only 6 were delivered on time. I'm worried that this trend will continue for the life of the program. So what could be done in the F-35 program to do something differently going forward to change that narrative? And I know you maybe have already discussed it previously, and I'm sorry that I wasn't here to hear your response.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to answer the question. I wish it was more upbeat this year than last, but I do think that my answer that I provided previously, that one of the things that I think on the baseline program you can focus on is the reliability, maintainability efforts. Make sure that the aircraft is going to be funded to meet those needs, because in the long term, that's one of the things that matters. I'd mention that we have a recommendation that if the program office should take a look at R&M metrics and figure out whether or not some of them are unachievable and make changes to them if that's needed and appropriate, but do that in a public way to say this is somehow the way we can look at it now and have a conversation with this committee and others in Congress about that and what it means for sustainability costs and those issues which are critically important as you look downrange given challenges with sustaining this aircraft in the field. But from my standpoint, on the Block 4, I'll say again that getting back to basics of writing good code and building test scripts, using automated testing to get that out, making sure that you're not fielding flawed code and doing estimates of work that makes it likely that you're going to be able to complete the work in a time frame that's allowed, I think is critically important to making Block 4 get on the right footing rather than repeating what we've seen with the baseline program for the past 20 plus years.
All right, thank you. Mahalo, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr.